Hello, dear sisters, Temple of Nuit sisters. And I might send this to the Anana sisters too. So sending you all so much love under this insane. It feels like every time we talk about these lunations, there's something else going on in the background, which, there is some big stuff going on. I thought I'd jump on and do a video for this one just because of its importance. And there's sort of a lot going on, as I said, in the background that a visual and aligning out would be beneficial. I have been thinking in the background, talking about background things. What has been coming up for me is to reinstate the Temple of New Wheat 6 month study group, where we meet once a month and go through the chart and with worksheets and things like that. So if that's something that you're hearing the call to join us, let me know and I'll give you some dates and details as to what that looks like, and we'll go from there. Just because there's so much happening between now and next year that it feels really important to drop back in, and to come back and look after, all that's happened this year. Like, what a wild year, and it's going to set to continue, which we will have a look. So this Virgo new moon, this is the second, the first of two Virgo new moons, dark moons, new moons in this cycle. The reason for that is because we've got the nodal points here. So the this new moon is happening here at 0 degrees, so right on, like the sun moves in and then the moon follows not long after. So it's a very, very early new moon, Virgo new moon, which means the next one that will happen in 4 weeks' time is right at the end, right at actually is that spring equinox, the day before spring equinox, the 20, I think it's like the 21st of September. So all of this month, I mean, it is Virgo season. The sun is in Virgo, Virgo mutable earth. Um, Finally, for those who have earth signs, there's something happening in earth that's not the south node. I know for one, having a lot of planets in Virgo myself, or in earth sign, that this fire, air, and water has just sort of uprooted me, and I did that floating feeling of not really being grounded, and actually having to seek out physically areas to which ground myself in. There's been a lot of lying on the earth and bare feet on the earth at the moment. So here we are, Virgo, mutable earth, ruled by Mercury and Chiron. So it gives us a clue that Virgo, it's the healer. She's the priestess. She's, the virginal priestess, but it's like the woman onto herself virgin, not the sort of patriarchal, hasn't had sex virgin. So she is here in service to the earth, and the earth changes. She's here to move earth, to move it from here to another. It's about resourcing. If you know any Virgos, they're very handy and really good at finding their resources. It's also about digestion and disseminating and pruning. So, being out in the garden recently and looking at, the fruit trees that need pruning so the healthier ones can grow. So what a beautiful thing to be, working with under a dark moon eclipse season, because we do have the next two lunations. So the full moon in Pisces, which will be up here in about 15 degrees, mid Pisces, and the next Virgo new moon, dark moon, is also an eclipse here on the south nodal eclipse. So we are in eclipse season. So as we know, grand endings and grand beginnings. It's a time for movement and shifting earth. Like, nothing is really stable, as we can see, but it's a really powerful time of, what is it that we are wanting to call in? And it's not just because of eclipse season. There is so much going on, as I said, in the backgrounds with the outer planets. Pluto over here, making a trine to Uranus that is now in Gemini. Also making both of those planets are making aspects here to Neptune and Saturn in very, very, very early degrees of Aries, which is the very start of the zodiac. So this is happening and it's going to continue on until next year and into 2007. So yes, big things are happening in the background, but what's happening now is now that Uranus is in Gemini. And it's interesting that now Pluto is in retrograde for a little bit longer. Pluto is pushing back into this trine and Uranus is pushing forward on this trine. So what's happening is that they're coming closer and closer to becoming exact. And this exact will start to happen next year. So it's already in play. Look, 1 degree and 22 minutes, 1 degree and 56 minutes. So, and they're sort of pushing up and bringing that trine closer and closer. Yeah, and which is making this aspect here of Saturn and Neptune in first degrees Aries. Not long after, just before the next full moon, the Pisces full moon, Saturn will be moving back into Pisces to really attend to any unfinished business that Saturn in Pisces, but even for the whole cycle that Saturn's moved around the zodiac, has brought up and coming, 27 years is like, what do we want to end out before like the big push forward that will come next year? And we're already in the rumbling. So we're already getting clues or glimpses as to what the future is. But knowing that, getting the vibe as to what is coming, what do we need to attend to now, like now while we still can, to cut off ties, to finish things off, such a Virgo themes, right? To disseminate, to eliminate, to allow those glimpses of the good timelines to come through to grow even more fully. I'm thinking of several elements in my personal life thinking, yep, that needs to be attended to, that needs to be attended to before this big thing can really come in cleanly and efficiently and more beautiful than I would expect if I wasn't hanging on to the old stuff. If I'm still hanging on to the old stuff, there's going to be problems down the line of, being able to bring in the thing that I really want to see more fully. So it's a really interesting time. So this new moon, sorry, is happening tomorrow, Saturday, 23rd of August at 4:06 p.m. In the afternoon. So this dark moon, like this is such a powerful dark moon. The moon is still in Leo as we speak right now. And it will cross over tomorrow into Virgo, right to right really close towards the actual point of the new moon click over. So, there's a lot of things happening in these areas of your chart. Well, actually, all this half. So from Aries, well, from you could say Pluto, but Pluto's been here for a while. But the Aries, the Gemini, the Cancer, which is where Jupiter and Venus are still at, knowing that, well, if you think back to when Mars, who is now in Libra, was doing his retrograde business at the end of last year in these same places, Mercury is now direct, also coming back in this Leo area of your chart, early Leo. So there's been a lot of things that we've been shown to just now to digest, to cut away, to let go of, to prune. I think that's what I'm hearing is the main word, I think, for this dark moon is to prune. What is happening here at this particular dark moon? So you have the moon and the sun here at 0 degrees of Virgo. It's creating a 90-degree angle here between the sun and the moon, and here in Uranus here in Gemini. So as we know, Gemini, first of all, squares, the 90-degree angle is that tension, that action, that breakthrough to break free. It's like there's a point here that's rubbing, it's uncomfortable, but we know that it's like a point that needs to bring tension up to create action. That is what squares do, is to bring action to fruition. Without the uncomfortableness, that action may have not been taken. It's like it's so uncomfortable that it just to break through to move forward. And to adding to that angsty energy, Uranus just in Gemini is Uranus is the breakthrough to break free. It's the revolutionary, it's the rebel that just goes, nah, I've had enough. We're just going to topple all this so something new can come through. And very fresh into Gemini air, mutable air, so that's a mutable square. It's like that. How do we move? Gemini is ruled by Mercury as well. So you've got the two very mercurial energies here. Sort of how do we think or move, or what do we need to, what needs to happen for us to move forward? I'm just feeling this this motion of needing to move forward, but it might come with some uncomfortable conversations, thinking of Mercury words. It might become, yeah, these thought patterns that we need to change or prune, depending where Virgo and Gemini are in your chart and what areas that it's been affected. And so here is Mercury saying we need to break free. We need to be free. We need freedom. We can't be in this constriction anymore. We just need to move. And with the square, it's even more so. So it's quite an intense energy, and Uranus, an outer planet. It's a generational planet. It's the first time we've had a Sun Uranus square in this Virgo and Gemini axes for the first time in just over 80 years. So this is new energy, but it's not comfortable because we're being shown away. We're getting glimpses of these timelines that we really love, but there's something that has to happen first. Ugh. And with all this going on in the background too, because you see this Uranus is pinging off Pluto, is pinging off Saturn, and Neptune is pinging off. There's a lot of pinging going on with the outer planets. So it's really quite. If what I feel is like there's big changes on the horizon, good changes, good timelines. But first, there's attending that needs to happen. If we don't attend that, maybe that timeline might be a one less as desirable or dreamy. Um, and really interesting too at this new moon here, and I'll just go back, is this yard. Now, those who have journeyed the 6-month Temple of Nuit, we did a lot of work around quincunxes, the 150 degrees, which is the green line here now that I've just drawn over it. The 150 degrees here from Pluto to the sun and moon, and from Saturn and Neptune to the sun and moon. But there's a sextile here as we see this new energy just sort of scratching, just sort of going, come on, there's 60 degrees, come on. There's a little seed here that is really, could be really sweet. Can we see it? If we squint our eyes, it's like there. But, it's up to us to nurture it and plant it. And this yard, this is a finger of God. When you've got 250 degrees, two quincunxes pointing in, making a point up here, and the bottom of the triangle is down here. This is fated. This is something that is divine and destiny, something between Pluto, who is a transformer. Anything that passes through Pluto's realms will be forever transformed. Saturn, the timekeeper, the time lord, it's Kronos. He is the one that's calling us to step in and take that responsibility and that eldership. With Neptune here is like, is it true? Is it not? Illusion, disillusion, dreaming, maybe, illusion is something that just hasn't take form yet, and so whether, the illusion, but it could be in a good an illusion that we're still just trying, it's just grasping, we're not, hasn't taken, physical form yet. So the dreamings that we can just get a hint of, that, if we go back and look over our moon prayers, there would be evidence of our wishful dreamings coming in that Neptunian into these very, very first degrees of Aries, which is the spark of initiation. So there is an initiation phase happening here, and we are being forced into, by divine will, here at this new moon, to create, to take action. It's not comfortable, but it's something that it feels like it's been forced by something other than us, something greater than us. To change, to prune away in the Virgo elements of this earth element, to cut away. Nothing's stable in this chart, as you see. If you've Virgo, it's an earth sign, yes, but it's mutable. And also the south node here, it's a south node. It's something we're moving away from. It's something that's like lessons from the past. And if we stick here, it's comfy, but it's no growth. It's almost going back in time. And we're not here to do that. We're here to bring in the future for our ancestors, for our ancestors. Isn't that interesting? Our future for our ancestors, knowing that time is not linear. Whew. So whatever's happening, it's like we're doing the work now for our grandchildren, but we're also doing it for our ancestors. That's really interesting, isn't it? So, yeah, big sort of new dark moon. So, dark moon prayers, make them, what are you pruning away? What branch of your dreamings that can see that's growing into nothing, and that it will just sort of, it's drawing energy away from, branches that will bring fruit. So think of that way. Not long after this full moon, so we go through the weekend and we get to Wednesday. I just want to draw your attention to next Wednesday, the 27th of August. And what we have here is actually something quite incredible. So this is Wednesday, the 27th. Venus will ingress into Leo, which is where, as we said, that Mars and Mercury have been playing and doing their work. Mercury stationed at 4 degrees last week to go direct. So I think what we will see over the next week or so is something really beautiful. We'll see, I think, some insights that Mars has been delivering to us, that Mercury's been delivering to us in this area of our chart, this early degrees area of our Leo. And this is going to continue because this will keep, it feels like a spiral that we're just going to keep getting more information and more information. Venus is now coming in there and injecting all her beauty and, looking at her resources and looking at our values and looking at, in the light of the sun, Leo, that life force, and her stepping into that life force going, yes, let's bring up this beauty and put it on stage. And it's so magnificent and it's raised by the sun. And that Venus in Leo is so spectacularly beautiful. And so, she's doing that. But then what happens, within over the next, I think it's next 6 months, probably less than that actually, we're going to have Jupiter go into Leo and cover the same spot. I think this is all happening in February next year. There's a lot of things that we're leading to, and I think this is why I'm being called to come back to that Temple of Nuit study group, is to look at these bigger, planets that are doing stuff in the background, not so quietly. And it's just going to get louder to keep track of that. So this is really important. So when Venus moves into Leo on Wednesday, the 27th, it's going to then make a trine aspect up to here. So it's already happening up here too. So this is going to get stronger, this trine line with Jupiter and Neptune. So she's going to inject her beautiful, love-filled Leo, bright beautifulness into, these future dreamings and the future timelines, Kronos, Saturn, and Neptune dreaming, which is really beautiful. And she's also will make a sextile here to Uranus, the change maker. So the 27th, I think, is going to be really important. It just feels like this moment in time that we can really reach into the future timeline that we wish and just inject that Venus and Leo sun beauty into it to create change, but in a way that has structure, has some kind of Saturnian. It's here. Keeping in mind, Saturn is in retrogrades and Neptune's also in retrograde. So it's like that, okay, maybe it's a reviewing of, yeah, let's take this from the past and let's move it here and let's move it there, almost like a Tetris, almost not a Tetris because you want to let things go. Um, yeah, I can't think of an analogy right now, but this looking and investigating, but also bringing up the light of what serves and what doesn't, and what's going to give us the best structure when Neptune and Saturn eventually move back into Aries early next year. So, as I said, everything is still mutable at the moment. We can still move it and change it and la 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 la. But in the next couple of years, that won't be the case. So, watch what's happening in the background. Like maybe, you will know what it is for you. It's certainly very clear out in the world, and what you need to prepare for whatever's coming, whether it's will happen or not. But also, what we see out in the world is like, well, it doesn't have to be that way. We can still change things. So what do we need to do to change that? Do we need to use our voice more, to make change? What a classic Uranus and Gemini energy. What do we need to do to go, that's not going to be the timeline here, or that is going to be the timeline. Let's bring that up. So this is a very good time to be able to do these changes now, because everything will sort of by 27 things will start to really move in their place, and that will be not it, but it will be harder to move. And I am thinking of Rick Levine and what he says about the times that are coming is that at the moment, there's copper. He goes copper and tin, but once you merge the copper and tin, it makes bronze, and bronze is hard. It builds things. It's solid. It's really, once you combine the flexible copper and the flexible tin to make bronze, it comes harder to move. Not in like movable, but depends how heavy it is. But there's less flexibility. So at the moment, we're still in the copper and tin stage, starting to decide where do we want to put the copper and tin to make the bronze and what areas. So yeah, I do love that analogy. On the 28th, Thursday the 28th, so the day after, we will have, the first of this, the sextile between Uranus and Neptune exact. So this is the beginning, as what we said. Like this is the beginning of that the outer planets really meeting each other and seeing what's here. This starts to form things. And do we like that or not? And so when the Neptune and Uranus start to break away from this trine a little bit more, when Neptune goes back into Pisces, that'll give a bit more flexibility, but, pay attention, I think, take note of what's happening around the 28th. And finally, I just want to speak to on Monday, September the first. So in the lead into the eclipse, so knowing that eclipses are always about grand endings and grand beginnings, another clue as to what Virgo is calling us to do, like tick, 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 cut away. Saturn actually does move back into Pisces for the last time in this cycle. And so it'll stay here until early next year. But it's something to really take note of and notice the shifting back of this, coming back into Piscean energy, knowing that this is so perfectly timed because we will have the full moon happening around about the 15-degree mark of Pisces, and Saturn will be in there. So it feels like that full moon in Pisces will be really important because it'll be the last Pisces lunation that Saturn will be there. So, and no, Saturn, Pisces is the mutable water. It's the dreamscape. It's the 0 point of the space in between, and having the Time Lord there, Saturn, is like, right, what do we need to do? What's the final, the dreaming of the good timelines, which was spoken about all the time with Saturn in Pisces. We're coming back to that sort of, what is it? What is it? Because we've had a glimpse. We've had a glimpse, and now it's time to really keep going and reaching further and higher, and really think of, because if you've watched our Neptune in Aries podcast, the Sentient Sky podcast, with Becky and I, you would know this Neptune in Aries is the beginning of like a generational cycle. Like it's the Neptune. It takes. I think it was 165 years. I could be wrong. I can't remember off the top of my head transit. So whatever's happening now is setting a tone for our great grandchildren. And so if you see a good timeline and you're reaching for it and you're cutting away things, reach further. Go further, dream bigger, dream more amazing, more spectacular, because we can do that. And I was just listening to Pam Gregory and what's his name? Let me just quickly check. I might put it on the chat. Dr. David Clements. He is friggin' amazing, and he talks about this, and it really, it can really bring some hope and, just that heart into the possibilities that could be here waiting for us if we choose it. If we choose it. It's very powerful, and to know that we are waking up to realize that we are a part of the one and all, that we are just, we've forgotten, and this is part of the remembering of just how powerful we are, that our hearts and our minds together is a very powerful tool or vehicle or vessel to bring in the good life. Just this deep, wild magic. So reach for it, knowing that it's time. Look, divine intervention. It's time to go. It's go time. That's what it is. It's go time. Wow. Amazing. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. If you're hearing the call to come and join me for another 6-month journey through the Temple of Nuit, for those who are in the Signal group who do the lunation prayers, that's just going to keep running as is. So this is something additional to this. So sending you much love. May your dark moon be insightful and gentle but powerful, and that your new moon in this eclipse cycle is just magnificent, because we know what's above is below, is within is without. And so if we are doing that, if we are reaching and choosing the good and happy and well and magical and blessed life, everything else will go with that vibe. Much love. Take care. Thank you for listening.